guess?
It was fascinating at the time when we were initiating this research, because we were trying to get people interested in this concept of relative privilege. And we were gifted from the wonderful government of the past who said, it's one rule for us and another rule for everybody else. Remember that? And then suddenly people started filling in the survey and we got so much data and so much response from people, because relative privilege is something that kind of sneaks around inside an organization. And then when it exposes itself, you know, a company will spend billions to insure itself against data loss. But a relative privilege eruption will cost them more than a data loss. Their reputation, the brand, everything goes to hell in a handcart, to use the phrase.
Yeah.
There's a government in power right now that isn't going to be in power very soon, as a direct consequence of the use of privilege in such an awful way, because it's the one thing we can't tolerate, right? Is a total lack of integrity when people behave in those ways. And this became really, really important, because the only way you can combat relative privilege is with effective DEIB programs, right? What other tools have you got against it other than raising people's consciousness about how they're behaving, what they're saying, what they're doing, the results or the impact of what they're saying, those casual conversations that can take place in I'll say in the men's toilet, between blokes, where you think, wow, this is totally inappropriate. This needs to stop. You need to stop even thinking like this. It isn't a kind of not getting caught potential. It's not getting found out principle. It's a not thinking like that in the first place principle. So we're going to go on and talk about the focus that we're going to switch, because we were last year in the presentation of the results from the survey, it was quite scary and it was quite worrying to show the prevalence of privilege inside of organizations in this day and age. You'd think that we were over it, but we're not. That there's still that activity going on and people experiencing it. 92% of people having direct experience of some form of relative privilege act against them or against another person. And some people even fessing up and saying, you know what, I've done it. I've used it against other people and I regret it and I feel awful about it, but I did. I had that opportunity and I just did it and I'm really sorry about it. But we didn't want to leave it there, because we started researching earlier last year, after we got the results in. We started having a look at the conversations that were going around privilege and said, let's move this to an upside. So what we're announcing today is some new research into what we're calling Privilege 2.0 for the research. There's going to be a lot of 2.0s and 3.0s bouncing around. But this is a second view of privilege. The first view is still out there, by the way. Any of you can run the first survey to talk about privilege inside your organizations. You can run it at an individual level or an organizational level. What we're moving on to now look at is saying, well, what's the point? What's the benefit side? Is there an upside of tackling privilege? How can we look at this differently? Now, the research that we conducted led us to identify that there were 3 different levels. Oh, I can look at it up here. That's great. That's good. Don't have to look back. There are 3 different levels of activity within DEIB: diversity, inclusion, equity, and belonging. There are 3 different ways of approaching this. The common way, the most common way, in around about 80% of organizations from the desk research, we haven't got the tangible figures right now, around about 80% of organizations are implementing what we would call policy-led approaches to DEIB. I could put another phrase around it. It's the how not to get caught approach to DEIB. let's have a policy that prevents the kind of activities that we don't want to get caught out exhibiting.
But it doesn't prevent it.
But it doesn't prevent it, because it's not a mindset change. It's an how you do things change. It's a way of working change, not a way of thinking change. So people are working in a positive way, potentially, but they're still thinking in a different old way. So when they move into other areas like creativity, decision-making, etc., all those old thoughts are still, all those old biases are still there. They're still coming to the surface. They're still raising arguments. They're still creating challenges. Further research then found that, oh, and by the way, the policy-led DIB implementers are the ones that are having the privilege eruptions, right? Because people make mistakes because their mindset's not been changed. So they still think it's okay to say something and behave in a certain way, and that's what catches them out. Then we've got the strategy people. The strategy people have been forward-thinking. So these are the strategy-led organizations. Around about 15% of organizations talking about their implementation of DEIB solutions say we're not just doing it for the policy, but we're doing it because it helps us achieve some of the goals that we have as a business. So they cite things like equal opportunity opens us up to a wider employee base so we can get the people in that we need. Diversity enables us to expand the board, to expand our thinking, and maybe create products and services that fit with our customers' needs. So it's kind of linked to a strategy, and it's helping the organization to move forward. So that's the strategy side of things. A little bit more thought put into it, a little bit more effort put into it, a little bit more leading edge, shall we say. And we see a lot of the organizations that have talked tonight are obviously at the top end or the front end of that strategy way of thinking. But there's something else emerging. And this is the bit that got us really excited.
I've got so excited about this. I can't wait to share it with you.
We found that some organizations were sweeping all of these things to one side and saying, DEIB has to be integral to the way our business operates. It has to be part of everything that we do. It isn't just an HR-led strategy or a kind of an approach to, you know, let's make sure that we're aligned to the compliance, etc., the regulators and various other challenges that organizations face. The organizations are saying, well, wait a second, if we really properly embraced this, if we actually went for the mindset change, not the working practice change, what could that do for our organization? So the desk research that we've done so far has indicated that there are a range of benefits and values that can be generated from that kind of research. So we're going to give you a quick intro into that, which is now up on the screen, to show that we've identified an integral DIB benefits wheel that looks at 10 different areas of benefit and value that can be generated. So, for instance, creativity and problem solving, decision making, cultural awareness, sickness and absence improves. All of these words have the word improves after it, right? Productivity improves, the talent management improves, employee loyalty improves, brand recognition improves, customer experience improves, marketing effectiveness improves. I'm sorry, I'm having to read it out because it's still so fresh coming out of the research that it hasn't quite hung with us yet. But we're getting really excited because we have tangible evidence that organizations are gaining benefits across the board in these areas. And the way in which they're describing this benefit is not a strategic goal or a target. They're saying, we're going to change mindsets. We're going to change the way we think about how we do things. And then we're going to see what happens. This is called an emergent method. They're not sitting down with a plan and a target and something stamped in it saying, by the end of the year, we want to increase profits by 10 million. They're saying, what I want to see is a benefit across a rich cycle of different activities that aren't just about money, They are. Money's important because money will sustain it. But how these benefits can actually be spread across a whole range of factors that make the organization feel good about itself, feel good that their clients feel good about working with them or buying from them, that people support them, people want to be involved in them. It attracts talent. It brings people right into the business. They feel developed and evolved. People's potential is fully released inside these organizations, and everything done on an equal basis. Wow, that sounds a little bit ambitious, right? Why the hell is that ambitious? Why would getting the best out of everyone be so scary that it has to be described as ambitious?
We have this productivity problem.
Yep.
Maybe because we're just focusing on one thing at a time.
We are. This is a massive tendency to be focused on one thing and another thing, as opposed to properly getting people to see the world through a different lens and to understand the value that can really be generated when we work in this active way. So this is bringing together the world of integral thinking. Look it up later, have a little dip around it, but integral thinking is a big emergent movement towards how to raise your consciousness and behave in different ways. Bringing that together with all the sense and sensibilities within DEIB programs to create a real opportunity. One of the big challenges that we've all faced when we talk about DEIB programs is that a lot of people express it this way, white male people express it this way, that the DEIB program's a problem because it requires the effort of the majority in order to benefit the minority, and that makes it unsustainable. I've heard that so many times. So integral DEIB is the effort of everyone for the benefit of everyone. And then there are other factors they can bring in, like B Corp, look up B Corp and look up Game B theory, look up all sorts of different ways of thinking about the future of the economy, because this is at the heart of a fundamental change in business, not just a fundamental change in the treatment and behaviors of people. This is a fundamental change to the way in which business can work going forward, that works in an integral, integrated way. So our research, and we want you to get involved in this, our research, which is going to be launched end of Q1, which we're going to talk about, you're going to finalize it a little bit later on, is about to investigate how you feel about the range of benefits that we're talking about accruing from DEIB 3.0, the third wave of DEIB, the integral implementation of DEIB policies. We want to find, there's no research out there right now. We're going to push this research together. The research, I'll be very, very honest, was supposed to be launched tonight, but I fall under the hat of neurodiversity, and therefore I can never hit a deadline to save my life, no matter how much enthusiasm I put into it. But that work will launch
end Q1.
End of Q1, I am told. But it will launch, and we want your active participation in that program. And any feedback that you've got to give us based on what we're saying and how we're announcing it, we're very, very happy to have that before we even start. But I think that we're hoping that we can set off onto a path that fundamentally grasps this whole issue once and for all and moves us forward collectively.
So what we're really inviting you to do, because you're here and you're clearly people who are interested in shifting the dial, is to come on this journey with us. So we're having the Research 2.0 launch at the end of Q1. We'd love you to try it out. Tell us what works. Tell us what doesn't work about it. Tell us how you experience doing the survey. But also, I encourage you to think about doing the previous survey, because the previous survey will tell you where your as is happens to be. So what your organization's like right now, but also where you're at. A lot of what came out of the Privilege 1.0 survey is that the way Roger designs the surveys, and you might ask, why would I work with somebody who can't hit a deadline? It's because he's good. He's amazing, right? So he designs the survey in a way that people engage with an inquiry, and from the beginning to the end of the survey, they've shifted their perception, they've increased their understanding. And that's a lot of what we heard back from the 40 organizations that took part in 1.0, is that actually doing the survey. In fact, I had an email this morning from Neil at Dragonfish saying, actually being at last year's Balancing the Scales and doing the survey has changed the way he approaches his clients and the way he approaches his charity work, because he also volunteers on a charity. So there's a benefit in just doing the survey, and of course we'd love the data to enrich our findings and look at whether there's anything. And actually, I'm going to introduce you to Saba. Where's Saba? Saba is this amazing master's student who I was lucky to meet, and she's an expert in data science and AI, which means I don't need to know anything about AI. Hooray! So Saba is going to also help us to look deeper into the data and get some more insights. But we're inviting you to join us on that research journey and share it with your organizations. We're also suggesting that you might like to engage more of your colleagues in this conversation. And the way you might be able to do that is that you've seen Elliot's recording everything we're saying. We're going to be doing some online live sessions by subject. So it's like a 30-minute conversation online where we look at the video of what you've said, what you've heard here tonight, and then we have a dialogue, and you can bring colleagues to that conversation as well. So that's quite a powerful way of starting, because DEIB 3.0 is not set. We don't have the answer. It's an evolutionary journey, and we're inviting people who are pioneers to join us in creating what DEIB 3.0 looks like. So please, if you think this is interesting and we'd like to explore, invite a few colleagues that you feel will understand this subject area, and we can have those online lives and start talking about that. The other thing that you might want to look at doing, and we're doing this with a number of clients at the moment, is what we call a cultural awareness and needs assessment. And this is for organizations who've been kind of doing DEIB for years. They've got a DNI, some of them have a DNI director, some have a DNI manager. It's kind of gone to a certain level. And we're working with even global organizations like 75,000 people, right, who are looking at this now. Have we got our culture right? Are we going to be able to achieve what we say we want to achieve with DEIB? And they're also more and more now not keeping DEIB as this thing on the side that everybody looks at, but integrating it into their leadership development. Right, so we're winning a lot of work at the moment because we're good at leadership development and we're good at DEIB. So we get brought in to do that integrative piece. And that's what, Roger, what you're talking about with integral DEIB is all about.
Well,
right?
It's really funny because the clients that we're working with kind of were looking for this thing that was missing from the agenda, from the way in which they were working with it. How could they take this to the next level? How could they improve on how they've done things up to now? And this is the exciting bit, is to say, we're helping reinvigorate the programs that they've been working on, but we're also now being able to shine a light on a way forward that is beyond what they thought they initially imagined. But it's a really exciting proposition for them then to take to the board in their organizations. And some of the people, we can't tell you who they are. I wish we could. But
next year, maybe.
Next year, there'll be case studies. They are huge, and they are very, very influential, and we're really, really excited about the work.
So excited about the work we're doing with organizations that are kind of, yeah, this sounds interesting. Let's see how we can take it into our organizations. So anyway, we've done a lot of talking, you've done a lot of listening, and you've been really, really patient, and I thank you for that. So now I'm going to hand it over to you. We'd love to hear back from you. So we use a technology called Mentimeter. We quite like that. We're also being quite brave in having your feedback live on here. We're like that. We do that. So hopefully you've all got data or managed to get onto the Wi-Fi, and you can scan this QR code. If you can't, let me know, and somebody will come around with a Wi-Fi code. Let me move out of the way. Okay, I'm going to post up the questions in a minute. You might not see anything for a bit. Has everybody got the QR code?
While you're doing that, I'll tell you a quick joke.
Go for it.
So after years and years and years of coaching with my daughter, she said, "Dad, I've got something really important to tell you." She said, I'm a lesbian, and I've just been selected for England. And I was really, really upset, because a daughter of mine playing for England was such a bad thing. Sorry, for those of you that can't detect the Welsh accent. So anyway, she went on to play for Wales.
She did, didn't she? And she's just a blessing. So are you able to see this question on your phones? You can't get... Oh. We'll sort that out. We'll send out a link. But I'm just interested to see thoughts. What's that?
I can see what one thing will you do differently.
Oh, am I showing you the wrong thing? Okay. So let's start with that question then. I know why this is. Okay, apologize. Bear with me 1 second. I'm going to fix this, okay? It means you all get to see what's on my desktop as well. It's a bit embarrassing. Okay. No. Oh, okay. The speakers, thank you so much for those kind comments. And then most importantly, we're always up for learning and making this more useful. All right, so any thoughts you have on what could make this better? Is that showing up on your screens now? It should be. Go back to. Move it on here as well. There you go. Yes, I agree. Thank you. More time for questions. Thank you. Okay. Well, we're going to keep this link live, and I'll email it out to everybody. So if we don't have your email addresses, please let us have that, and we'd love your input, because as I said, we're co-creating this as we go. I've got, this is our most important question. So some practical things that you can do. So how will you start to engage with 3.0? So it should be a multiple choice question. So you can pick one of one of four options. So perfect, thank you. So there are 4 things you can do as a result of the conversations we've had here. thank you for doing the survey, last year's survey. I'll send that out tomorrow in a link for you. Explore how cultural readiness needs assessment might benefit your organization. We're definitely here if you're up for that conversation. We can speak to you about that. Join the upcoming live. Thank you. Again, please do continue to complete that. And on that note, all I have to do is thank you for being here, because I've really enjoyed the conversations. I've really enjoyed what all our speakers have provided for us. I hope it started to show you that there is a new emergent future around this whole DEIB conversation. There are organizations doing the right thing, and they are starting to see results. So that was our intention for this evening. If we've achieved that, I'm really grateful. I'm grateful to all our speakers. I'm totally grateful to Alicia and Aeon for providing us. Isn't that amazing space? Beautiful space. And to our whole team, to Saba, to Christina. Where's Christina? Christina's not in the room. She's outside. To Nigel for running that amazing activity. To Roger for being my partner in the research. And to all of you.